Chapter 29 Changan again rises while the generals and soldiers at the border risk their lives. In the Changan palace, Jiancheng and his followers gradually increased the pressure. They sent people to spread the news that Li Shimin was plotting a rebellion and wanted to seize the throne. One night, in the palace, a mysterious Taoist presented the heavenly plan to Jiancheng, saying, "If you let Shimin live, you will lose your throne. If blood flows in Changan, the throne will last." These words were like a fire, fanning suspicions, a sign of disaster one rainy night. Luo Cheng returned to his camp, looking at the dim red moon. Suddenly hearing a mournful howl from the distant forest, he recalled the thunder of Dushan. Feeling uneasy, in his dream, he saw the ghost king revived, laughing horribly. This time, not only Luogan, but even Changan will become a sea of blood. He woke up with a sweat on his forehead, knowing that the storm had not stopped here. Outside the border, the war had not yet calmed down. In the palace, brothers fight for the throne. Evil spirits reappear. Everything is like a tightly twisted coil, gathering all into a great storm. The dim moonlight behind the clouds signals the moment when Changan is drowned in blood. Brothers fight. Cracks begin when the external forces have been quelled. The snake of jealousy in Crown Prince Li Jiancheng's heart grows bigger and bigger. He knows that he cannot compare with Li Shimin's achievements, so he resorts to the most despicable tricks. The eunuch who is close to him always whispers poisonous words into his ears. Eunuch. In a flattering tone, Crown Prince, look, the Duke of Qin is superior to his lord. All the best generals in the world are under his command. If you do not act first, I'm afraid that sooner or later this throne will no longer be yours. Li Jiancheng grits his teeth. Li Jiancheng, I know. But what should I do? Father always defends him. The eunuch demon, don't worry, Crown Prince. To cut down a big tree, you have to cut off its branches and leaves first. La Cheng has just lost his father, is full of resentment, and is a fierce general under the Qin king. He is the first target. A cruel plot has been hatched. Li Jiancheng and his younger brother, the king of Qi, Li Yuanji, entered the palace together and reported to Emperor Gaozu Li Yuan. Li Jiancheng, pretending to be worried father, the remnants of Du Jiande's army led by Liu Haitao have rebelled in Shandong again, and their influence is very great. I am worried about the safety of the country. Please send a talented general to quell the rebellion. Li Yuan, according to you, who should we send? Li Yuanji immediately stepped out. Li Yuanji, Your Majesty, I would like to recommend La Cheng. He is young and talented, his spear skills are unparalleled, and he has just lost his father, and is eager to avenge his achievements. It is most suitable to give this task to him. Li Yuan didn't know this was a trap. Hearing that it made sense, he nodded in agreement. The decree was issued, appointing Luo Cheng as the vanguard to suppress Liu Haitai's rebellion. When the decree reached the Qin king's palace, everyone's expression changed. Duke Mao counted his fingers, his face pale. Duke Mao, it's over. This is the borrowing a knife to kill someone plan. Liu Haitai is also a sorcerer, and his army is 10 times larger. They deliberately pushed Luo Cheng to his death. Qin Chu Bao, voice full of worry, let me go to the palace and ask the emperor to withdraw the order. But Luo Cheng had already stepped out, wearing white armor, holding a spear in his hand, his eyes cold but full of determination. Luo Cheng, no need, big brother Qin. The military order has been given, it cannot be disobeyed. Moreover, I also want to see if their scheme can win against the spear in my hand. He looked at his brothers, then bowed deeply. La Cheng, brothers, if I don't return this time, please take care of my old mother. I leave the La family's grudge to you. After saying that, he turned and walked away, his back lonely and tragic. The heroes watched, their hearts aching. They knew that a shooting star was about to crash into the darkness. After saying that, he turned and walked away, his back lonely and tragic. The heroes watched, their hearts aching. They knew that a shooting star was about to crash into the darkness. La Cheng not only left because of military orders, he also left because he wanted to use his death to warn the king of Qin about the evil of Li Jiancheng, and also to end his perverse love affair with Hong Fat Nu. He chose the greater cause and sacrificed his personal feelings. The destruction of the river of death. La Cheng, alone on horseback, led the vanguard, heading straight for the Zhejian Pass, where Liu Haitai was stationed. He was not afraid, but only had a great indignation in his heart. He knew this was a trap. But he was the White Dragon, one of the most proud generals. He would rather die standing on the battlefield than live kneeling in the dirty plots of the palace. As soon as he arrived, La Cheng immediately charged into battle. The 100 birds' true feng spear in his hand danced, transforming into hundreds of thousands of white dragon shadows, charging into the enemy as if there were no one there. He fought like a god, with only one thought in his heart: kill all the rebels, to show the people of Changan that La Cheng was not a sacrificial pawn. Liu Haitai, who was also a sorcerer, saw that La Cheng was exceptionally brave, and did not dare to confront him directly. He ordered his troops to retreat gradually, luring La Cheng into a narrow valley. La Than, filled with hatred, without any doubt, urged his horse to chase. When he had entered deep into the valley, suddenly war drums sounded from all four sides. Tens of thousands of enemy troops poured down from the mountains, blocking all escape routes. Only then did La Than realize that he had fallen into a trap. He looked around, saw that his troops were few and were surrounded. He raised his face to the sky and laughed tragically. La Than, ha ha ha. Li Jiancheng. Li Yuanji. You want to borrow Liu Haita's hand to kill me? It's not that easy. He turned his horse, led his troops to charge left and right, trying to break the siege. But the enemy troops were too numerous. One group fell, another charged forward. He fought for a whole day and a night. His white armor was stained red with blood, his strength gradually exhausted. He waited for the imperial court's reinforcements, but in response he only received terrifying silence. He knew he had been abandoned. Finally, Liu Haitai ordered his troops to push La Cheng towards a river called the Uni River. The surface of the river looked normal, but underneath was a deadly swamp. La Cheng's war horse had just plunged into it and was stuck deep, unable to move. The background music faded, leaving only the distant sound of war drums and the mournful howling of the wind. La Cheng was stuck in the middle of the river. Liu Haitai stood on the bank, laughing triumphantly. Liu Haitai, La Cheng. You are a hero, but unfortunately you were born into the wrong master. Today is the anniversary of your death. He waved his hand and gave the order. Immediately, tens of thousands of archers from both sides of the river raised their bows, and the pitch-black arrows aimed straight at the lonely white figure in the middle of the river. La Cheng looked at the arrows pointing at him, and in his mind, he suddenly remembered the oath he had made to Qin Shubao years ago. La Than, whispering voice full of bitterness, 10,000 arrows piercing the heart, the oath that year unexpectedly came true today. Cousin, I will go first. He closed his eyes. The image of his old mother, of his brothers in Jiapzha Lao, and also the figure of Hong Fat Nu, and also the figure of Niet Enga flashed through his mind. A drop of blood tear flowed from the corner of his eye. Shot. Tens of thousands of arrows flew, tearing the air, piercing the young man's body. La Than did not fall. He still stood straight, his hand tightly gripping the spear, until his last breath. That year, he was only 23 years old. A shooting star had gone out, leaving behind an inconsolable pain in the hearts of those who remained. The imperial court rises. The news of La Than's death in battle spread to Changan like a thunderclap in a clear sky. The Qin palace was plunged into a deathly silence. Qin Shubao could not stand. The sword in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. Cheng Zhaojian roared like a wounded beast, swinging his hammer and smashing the stone table in the courtyard. Cheng Zhaojian, screaming, full of anger. Li Jiancheng. Li Yuanji. I, old Cheng, swear to chop you all into 100 pieces to sacrifice to Luo Dai's soul. Yu Qigong, who was usually hot-tempered, was now frighteningly silent. The murderous aura emanated from him, causing no one to dare to approach. He walked in front of Li Shimin, knelt down on one knee, and his voice resounded. Yu Qigong, Kim Wang. Luo Cheng did not die on the battlefield, but died because of the plot of the crown prince and Qi Wang. If you are not decisive, I am afraid that tomorrow it will be our turn, and finally yours. Please give the order, Qin Wang. All the generals knelt down. The sound of armor clashing was dry. Generals, please give the order, Qin Wang. Li Shimin stood there, his hands clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. He looked at the generals, the brothers who had gone through life and death with him. Then looked back at the palace, where his father and his blood brothers were. In his heart, there was a terrible conflict. He did not want his brothers to kill each other, but Li Jianqing's cruelty pushed him to the brink of death. Luo Qing's death was the last straw. Li Shimin, his voice was low and cold as ice. Each word weighed 1,000 pounds. All right. If they no longer consider me a brother, then I don't need to keep the last bit of affection. He turned to Zhu Gong. Li Shimin, advisor, please look at the date. I want to end all of this. Zhu Gong looked up at the sky and saw that the purple star was surrounded by 2 demon stars, but the murderous aura from the guardian gods had reached its peak, forming a sharp golden light. He knew that the final battle that would decide the fate of the Great Tang was inevitable. Zhu Gong, June 4th. Xuanwu Gate. That will be the place where everything will be decided.